Hey guys, welcome or welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Vish, and today I'm going to be going through some of the books that I've read recently. As you've seen, I haven't really been doing wrap-ups, one because I couldn't commit to doing that video every month because of uni and stuff like that, and two, I kind of gotten bored with the whole formula of a wrap-up. It's like very standardized, which is fine for other people, that's totally fine, but for me, I feel like I need to switch things up a bit to make it more interesting. So here we are with a recent reads video. I will do a recent reads every time I reach like 5 to 6 books read. So I'm going to talk about the 6 books that I've read recently and maybe add in some favorite books that I've read recently since my last wrap up, which I think is June. So I'll add that portion at the end. I will chapter this whole video so you can check out the timestamps down below if you want. Also, I hope you guys are doing all sorts of well. I have just finished my last exam yesterday, so I am officially on semester break. I'm hoping to do more content for this channel. My focus is going to be on this channel for the next 3 months or so. I have many plans, reading and content, so look out for all the videos that are going to be coming out. But anyway, let's look at the books that I've read recently. The first 2 books I want to talk about is Desperate Measures and Learn My Lesson by Katie Roberts. So I gave both Desperate Measures and Learn My Lesson 4.5 stars. These 2 are adult romances that are part of a series called The Wicked Villains series. These 2 are just so much fun, and the Wicked Villains series is just basically Disney villains and it's just a weird concept, but it actually works very well for some reason. So Desperate Measures, we follow Jafar and Jasmine, and for Learn My Lesson we have Hades, Hercules, and Meg. So we'll talk about Desperate Measures first, and as I said, we follow Jafar and Jasmine, and it's a very dom sub relationship, and there is also a daddy kink, which I did not enjoy as much as other people. It's just not my thing. And also with like the whole Jafar thing, you would think you would picture Jafar from Aladdin, but not at all. He has a totally different description, so I didn't picture that at all, which is great because then that wouldn't be a good time. So for Learn My Lesson, it is a throuple and it's also a dom sub relationship. Hades is a dom, Meg is like a mixture of a dom and sub, and Hercules is just a sub. I didn't think I would be a fan of throuples just because I like my romances just to be between 2 people, but I actually didn't mind it at all. I actually really enjoyed it. It was a really sweet end as well. I did not expect that to happen, and the Hades in this story is actually related to the Hades in her other series, Neon Gods, and I actually love Hades in Neon Gods, but this Hades in Learn My Lesson I did not like whatsoever. I did not like him, but I loved Meg. And both books have really mafia vibes, which I dig, and I think a lot of people have said like it's a fantasy romance, including Neon Gods, but there's no fantasy element at all. So definitely go into this knowing it's just an adult romance that has characters from Disney. The next book is The Way of the Argosy by Sebastian de Castell. This is the first book of the prequel series of Spellslinger, and I actually have a whole reading vlog about this, so I'll link it up in the cards and also in the description if you want way more of my thoughts. And I also want to thank Hotkey Books for sending this to me, and also the sequel to this, which is The Fall of Argosi, which I have. Oh no, it's over there, you can't see it, but it's there. I haven't read that yet and I really want to. But anyway, with The Way of the Argosi, I gave this 4 stars. It is basically an origin story of a character that we meet in Spellslinger. It has a really dark and gritty atmosphere compared to the Spellslinger series, so if you have read the Spellslinger series, it's a very light atmosphere even though it has really dark topics. But with Way of Argosi, it's very dark, very gritty. The writing style is also very atmospheric. I highly recommend you picking up this series. I think I would recommend you starting with Spellslinger, to be honest, and then work your way back to The Way of the Argosi. I really like our main character. She goes through a lot of trauma in this book, or just in general, and I loved seeing her grow throughout the whole book. And this also has a cryptic mentor character that I also really enjoy in books. I really enjoyed this. I cannot wait to get to the next book, as I said, because that one has more of a plot, whereas this one, like I said, is just an origin story, which is still good, but I wanted a little bit more of a plot, which I know I will get in the next book. The next book is Survivor Song by Paul Tremblay. I actually gave this 2 stars. It was a bit of a dud, to be honest. It's basically about a rabies outbreak, and we have 2 characters, and one character is trying to get the other character from point A to point B. And it's a very short book, but oh my god, it felt so long. Everything was so boring, and literally everything would have been resolved if a character just did one thing. The book would have ended in 50 pages. I swear to god. I really want to read his other works like A Head Full of Ghosts and The Cabin at the End of the World. I know those 2 are more popular than Survivor Song, and I like all the concepts of his books, and I don't know if it's going to be executed properly, unlike this one, unfortunately. So yeah, I just, this was not it for me, guys. If you've read it and you liked it, let me know, because I don't know, it's just me. Next is Behind Her Eyes by Sarah Pinborough. I gave this 4.5 stars. It is a domestic thriller, and it is a slow burn kind of mystery with a huge twist at the end. As it says here, the most shocking ending you'll read all year. And I'm not gonna lie, I actually predicted the ending. It was kind of like a far-fetched prediction that I didn't think would happen, but it did happen, and it didn't really hinder my reading experience just because it was written so well. I've never read a well-constructed thriller book ever so far. Like, there's just puzzle pieces after puzzle pieces, and then you just kind of piece it together as you're going till the end, and it was fast-paced because it kept you intrigued the entire time. The characters are definitely unlikable, but they're supposed to be unlikable, like all characters in thrillers, I feel like. So yeah, I highly recommend this thriller if you're looking for literally anything that I said, like a slow burn mystery with a huge twist at the end. I know a lot of people, including me, like a twist at the end of a thriller. If not, kind of like, it's kind of disappointing, aka behind closed doors. But I really enjoyed this, so I highly recommend this. Last thing that I read recently is Wings of Shadow by Nikki Palpretto. This is the October pick of the channel Buddy Read. If you don't know, I run a channel Buddy Read. We read a book every month, and this was October's pick. If you want to join it, the Discord link will be down below, and also the announcement for that Buddy Read November and December will be linked in the cards because it'll tell you live show times, co-hosts, etc. This is the last book of the Crown of Feathers trilogy, and I gave this 4.5 stars. I absolutely enjoyed this. This is such a solid ending to a trilogy, and I highly recommend this entire trilogy because although it is YA, I feel like the world building and world history is very much teetering toward adult because there's just so much of it and it's so expansive and detailed, which you don't really get in YA books, at least so far that I've read. This is my favorite book of the trilogy just because it is so fast-paced. There's twists and turns. There's a lot of politics. Actually, yeah, that's probably why I really like this book. There's a lot of politics and twists and turns, and our characters have finally kind of come into themselves and they can do things without being stupid. Great animal companions because the characters can actually communicate with the phoenixes via their minds, and you can just see their sass and their personality. Absolutely love it. My favorite character in here is Sparrow, and I think there's a few people who really love Sparrow as well, and she's such a great character, I swear to god. And if you want to check more of like my spoilery thoughts, I'll link the live shows as well, like for all 3 books if you want to check them out down below. So yeah, highly recommend this trilogy if you haven't picked it up. And also this cover is extremely beautiful. All 3 of the covers are extremely beautiful. And I know Nikki Palpretto is writing more books, and I think she's writing a middle grade from what I saw on her Instagram today as I'm filming this. So I am hyped for that. I think she's gonna be an autobi author from now on. I just want to add something as well because I actually DNF'd this today as I'm filming this, and that is American Gods by Neil Gaiman. I DNF'd at like 135 pages. I know this is a lot of people's favorite, and I know a lot of people also say not to start with American Gods if you're discovering Neil Gaiman for the first time, and I did exactly that. And because, you know, it says American Gods, so there's a lot of American culture, American references that I just don't get, and if it's something that I don't get, I immediately just lose interest. And I kind of have the same feelings as The City We Became. I actually DNF'd that as well because of the setting. It takes place in New York, and the characters are based on the boroughs of New York, and I didn't understand the setting and the references, and I just didn't care about anything, about the characters and everything. So it's the same in here as well. I really do want to get it and I do want to read it, but I just am not vibing with it. I don't understand anything. I don't want to read it. So sadly, I'm going to have to unhaul this because I'm never gonna read it. Okay, so those are all the books that I've read recently and going to read. I thought I'd just quickly mention 3 books. This is not 3 books that I really loved recently and I want to share it with y'all. The first book I want to share is The Empire of Gold by S.A. Chakraborty. I am so glad that I started reading the Daevabad trilogy and it has become my favorite series of all time. I love this series with my whole heart and soul. It just speaks to my soul. Not surprised I gave this 5 stars. I think I gave Kingdom of Copper 5 stars, but I didn't quite give City of Brass 5 stars. But Kingdom of Copper and Empire of Gold are favorites of all time. The Daevabad trilogy is basically a desert fantasy and there's a lot of djinn magic, there's a lot of politics, atmospheric and unique and cultured world history. The reason why the world building and the culture speaks to me is because it's actually drawn from my own culture. So I recognize a lot of things, names, food, clothing, just everything. Like I said, I love the series. If you haven't picked up the series, I highly recommend it. The first book is very different from the second and third book. The first book is very fast-paced and very romance-based, but the second and third book is not at all that. It is slow-paced, it is very politic-heavy, there's a lot of world building, and yes, it's also fast-paced, but not as much as City of Brass, so just pick it up, guys, please. This next book is a kind of a bit of a surprise to me. I didn't think I would love it this much, and that is Skyward by Brandon Sanderson. This is a YA sci-fi, and I rated this 4.75 stars. This was, like I said, a surprise to me. I didn't think I would love it this much, but I loved the found family in here. I love the action scenes in here, which is really weird because the other sci-fis that I've read, I can't really picture the action scenes in my head, but this one, it was so clear. I did pick up Starsight, but I did put it down for a bit after halfway. I just need to come back to it later. I wasn't in the right headspace for it. There's a stubborn main character that you will grow to like. There's a talking ship. There's found family. It's just an overall really solid YA sci-fi, and I highly recommend this. And the last favorite I want to talk about is Neon Gods by Katie Robert. As I mentioned before, this is a Hades and Persephone retelling. I love the Hades in here. I love the Persephone in here as well because she's such a badass. And I also gave this 4.75 stars. This is my favorite Hades and Persephone retelling so far. I absolutely adored the characters, the side characters, the slow burn, romance, the smut as well. And surprisingly, there's a lot of politics in here, city politics. So that was a bit of a surprise and I actually enjoyed that part as well. So if you're looking for another Hades and Persephone retelling to gobble up, highly recommend this. So those are all the books that I wanted to talk about in this video. Let me know if you've read any of these books. Let me know if you've read the Daevabad trilogy, and if you haven't, read it. Like this video if you liked it, subscribe if you haven't. All my socials and everything will be linked down below. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you in my next one. Bye!